heaven, وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَاءً, as a canopy and as something from which Allah sends down the rain, as a result of which He brings out all the fruits and everything else that people benefit from, which is a sustenance for the people. After mentioning all of these things, which are basically favors and bounties of Allah, Allah then says, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Therefore, do not set up rivals with Allah. And this is a clear prohibition. This is a clear prohibition. A clear prohibition. Do not set up rivals for Allah. So this is a prohibition from Allah from committing shirk after He commanded Tawheed. So in essence, the first command, اُعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ, and the first prohibition, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Do not set up rivals for Allah. So after commanding with Tawheed, Allah prohibited shirk, and andad is the plural of nid, and the meaning of nid is al-mathil, something which is a likeness, or al-shabih, something which is a resemblance, or al-nadhir, something which is an equal. So Allah has negated all of this, meaning do not set up equals for Allah, and do not set up likenesses that you resemble with Allah, or that you resemble Allah with, and that you associate with Allah in worship, whereas these things or these beings are just merely creation. They are just creatures, just like you. They're not able to bring benefit for themselves, or bring harm for themselves, or life, or death, or nor resurrection. Right? So Allah has prohibited this. وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Then Allah says, وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Right? Meaning, whilst you have full knowledge that there is no equal or rival or likeness to Him. You know that you have full knowledge. You know that there is no one who can share with Allah in the creation, in His creation of the creation, and in His in His control, and His organization, and in His management of the creation. There is no one which is equal to Him. There is no one who shares with Him. Right? So you have full knowledge. So do not set up partners with Allah whilst you have knowledge of this. So in this verse, in these two verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has basically established a number of affairs in these two verses. First of all, that He created them. Secondly, that He made the earth as something that is open and spread out for them, for their benefit. That He made the heaven as a canopy, as a ceiling. That He revealed the water, the rain. That He brought out fruit from the soil, from the ground. And all of these are intellectual, clear and manifest intellectual evidences which the people acknowledge. They acknowledge. And so therefore, because of their acknowledgement of all of these realities and these things that Allah has pointed out, then this has now made the evidence binding upon them. The evidence is now binding upon them. The proof is now binding upon them, which is the proof of Tawheed. This is now a proof over them for Tawheed. And it is a nullification of shirk, which obviously these people are upon. And it is also a clarification, meaning what occurs in these two verses. It's also a clarification and an explanation that there is no evidence and there is no proof for the person who is upon that shirk. Rather, the proof and the evidence is upon the obligation of worshipping Allah alone. As Allah establishes in other verses, Allah says, وَمَنْ يَدُعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ لَا بُرْحَانَ لَهُ بِهِ فَإِنَّمَا حِسَابُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الْكَافِرُونَ. And whoever invokes or calls upon anyone else besides Allah, another ilah besides Allah, then he has no evidence for that, for this action. And verily his reckoning is with his Lord. Verily Allah does not cause the disbelievers to prosper. And Allah says in another ayah, قُلْ حَاتُوا بُرْحَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Say, bring your proof if you indeed speak the truth. And in another verse Allah says, وَنَزَعْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا فَقُلْنَا هَاتُوا بُرْحَانَكُمْ فَعَلِمُوا أَنَّ الْحَقَّ لِلَّهِ. And we will bring out from every nation a witness, and we will then say, bring your evidence. And then they will come to realize at that point that indeed Allah, that the truth is with Allah. So all of this shows, these verses, all of it shows that there is no evidence for them upon their shirk at all. They have no evidence at all for the shirk. Rather, the evidences, the clear, absolute evidences are all for the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for singling Him out in worship. And this shows that just to merely affirm Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, meaning to affirm that Allah is the creator and the provider and the owner and the sustainer, that all of this is not sufficient. So the one who says that Tawheed is to affirm that Allah is the creator, the sustainer, the giver of life and the taker of life, then that person is in error, because these people haven't actually understood or known Tawheed. This is because if this had been Tawheed, meaning just to affirm Allah as the creator and the sustainer and so on and so forth, then that would have meant that the mushrikun are believers, because Allah has already informed about them that they know and they acknowledge that Allah is the creator and the provider, the one who sends down the rain and the one who does all of these actions. They know all of this, and despite this they are not muwahhideen. Rather, Allah still commanded them to worship Him alone, because He said, "U'budu rabbakum." And this shows that their knowledge of all of these affairs, their knowledge that Allah is the creator and the provider and whatever and so on and so forth, that is not sufficient for them up until they single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worship. So therefore, at-Tawheed is to single out Allah in worship, and Tawheed is not just to affirm that Allah is the Lord, the creator, the provider, the sustainer, and so on and so forth. This is how the scholars of philosophy, the philosophers and the scholars of rhetoric, this is what they say. And they are the people who in fact never understood Tawheed. They did not understand Tawheed, these people. Rather, what they did was, they made all of their concern and their debates and their seeking of evidence, extraction of evidence, they made it all revolve around the issue of rububiyyah. And they never went any further than this, meaning the philosophers and the people of the Ahlul Kalam, and that's what Tawheed revolved around for them. And this is something that's already present. This is something it's obvious, it's already there, it's present, and it's Abu Lahab affirmed it, and Abu Jahl affirmed it, and other than affirmed it, they all affirmed that Allah is the creator, that Allah is the provider, and the one who gives life, and the one who takes life. And so this then is the explanation of this verse. And then after this, Shaykhul Islam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, he then brings some of the statements of the Sahaba and from the Tabi'een, and inshallah ta'ala we will continue with them in the next lesson. This is half of the lesson. We'll finish the lesson off in the next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, because it's a bit lengthy. So we'll stop it here, and we'll continue with it in the next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, in 2 weeks' time.